I am Michelle Rowan with Franchise Business Review, and I am here to talk with some folks from the Spoiled Rotten Photography franchise system. So, we have had the chance to work with Spoiled Rotten Photography with a team since 2021 when they had 13 franchise partners that were open and operating. It's always wonderful to see franchisors that are committed to franchisees in their system right from the start. And the FBR feedback is just one of the ways the team measures how the franchisees feel they are doing in supporting them in their business and helps them prioritize what they should focus on as they continue to grow the brand. Since the first project, they have received 16 awards based on franchisee satisfaction, including a top franchise for women, a top low cost franchise opportunity, top franchise based on culture, and top innovative franchises. So today we are going to talk with some franchisees and Melissa from the corporate team to learn about Spoiled Rotten Photography, a franchise business specializing in children's portraits. So first, from the corporate team, we have Melissa Tash. Melissa founded the business in 2003. Then we have Lynn and Renardo Driver, franchisees since 2022. Lynn is a former elementary school paraprofessional who's trained to work with children and loves photographing children. And her husband is her business partner and is an excellent photographer as well. I like that little bio part. And then to round out today's panelists, we have Joey and Sandy Fotheringham. Did I say that correctly? Was I
Fotheringham,
close?
close.
Okay. And they joined the Spoiled Rotten Photography family in 2022, and they are in West Houston and Katy, Texas. So thank you all for joining. I'm going to start with some of the data that we've collected from this last round of surveying that we did. It's pretty impressive. 100% of franchisees agree that they enjoy operating their business. 100% of franchisees also agree that the senior management encourages a team culture. And 100% of franchisees are likely to recommend this franchise to others. So that's pretty incredible. So I'm going to start with you, Melissa. I want you to tell us about how you started the business, and then also too, how you decided to start franchising it as well.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you for having us. We love Franchise Business Review and we really appreciate what all you do for franchising. So thank you for having us today.
Yeah.
Okay, so I started out like many photographers, just taking pictures on nights and weekends, working a full-time job. And one day, a friend asked me to take her preschool pictures at a preschool, and I had no idea what I was doing as far as taking school pictures. So I just did what I knew to do, which is custom photography in a preschool setting. And turns out it was a hit, like parents ate it up. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. And when I started making more money taking pictures than I was at my engineering job, I was like, I think we can replicate this. And I think I can help a lot of other families make a living doing something that they love. So that's kind of how we started it and just have gone straight gangbusters since then.
I love that. So now I'll start with you, Lynn and Renardo. What were you guys doing before you found Spoiled Rotten? And then tell us kind of how you found your way to Spoiled Rotten, if you were looking at other franchise brands or if it was really just them from the start, kind of what drew you to them.
Well, first of all, thank you for the opportunity to come on and speak about this wonderful opportunity with Sport Round Photography. So what were we doing?
I was home because COVID had took the paraprofessional job out of the school for a while, so I was home. And you were photographing houses.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and we got a phone. What we were in a fire as well. And it took everything we owned. We walked away with just the clothes on our back and our children and our little dog. And after that, maybe about a week or so later, I received a phone call from a dear friend of mine who we've been friends for many, many years. And she was just calling to see how we were doing and to let us know about Spoiled Rotten Photography. And she had some challenges of her own, so she couldn't really work the business anymore. And so she was just actually just asking me, when you get back on your feet, we'd love to have you come work with us. And after talking and talking and talking, I was like, well, hey, would you be interested in just letting me take this over from you? And she was like, yes, yes. Because she just simply could not do it. She had some health issues, some family issues, and she put us in touch with Melissa, and it has been fabulous. It is the best decision we have ever made.
I love that.
Ever made.
I'm glad something good came out of that. That I'm very sorry to hear. It's an extremely life-altering event to go through. I'm glad that led you to that conversation. So you bought an existing business and took over as the franchisee. Excellent. Okay, Joey and Sandy, let's go to you. What were you all doing before you found Spoiled Rotten?
I was working in the telecom business. I was installing internet and repairing internet, that kind of stuff.
I was a planner for AT&T fiber backbone planner.
Okay,
So we were both in the corporate environment.
Yeah, so this is, I was going to say, and we're going to talk later because I used to work for a CLEC, so we'll get into that off air. So this kind of leads me to my question. Do you need to have photography experience to be the franchisee, Melissa? Or can you hire people to do that? Can you learn that trade? Are you looking for people that have just the passion for photography or have any kind of education or experience doing that?
Actually, what we are looking for is business people who love working with children. So Lynn and Renardo both had some photography experience, and Joey and Sandy did not. So we love people who love children and love working with people, and we can teach them the photography.
Well, and you forgot that Lynn and Renardo also had experience with 4 children.
Oh, yes. And Joey and Sandy have tons of experience.
Yeah.
So any experience with children is not actually necessary, but if you love working with kids and are that type of person that loves people, I think that works as well too.
Awesome. So Joey and Sandy, I want to go with you because you started your business from scratch. What was that like at the beginning to ramp up your business? Do you remember some of your challenges as you got things started?
Well, one thing, when you said in the bio, we started in 2022, we actually started in 2020.
Oh, okay.
We started during the heart of the pandemic.
Yeah.
So
great time to
preschools
start
were
a
not
business.
open. When we were coming down to make this decision, the preschools were not open at the time.
Mhm.
You know, there was no business to be had. We are godly people, and we had prayed about it a lot and felt like that's where we needed to be. God put it on our heart. So
I love that.
when we went through training, and that was amazing. And I think that gets back to your previous question about, do you need to be a photographer to start? And the training is good enough to where the answer is no, you do not need to be a photographer when you start. You need to like kids. You need to love kids. That's a lot harder to teach than photography.
Yeah.
So, but when we got started, our biggest challenge, I think, for me, because I do most of the sales stuff, was when we got back from training, I knew how to take pictures and I knew how to play with kids, but I hadn't done it. We had two training sessions, I think, but I hadn't gone and run it by myself. And so when I'm trying to sell stuff, I was terrified they were going to ask us questions. Well, what happens if this happens? Because it'd be like, I don't know. We figured out, which is, is what we did, but it's not what you tell people when you're trying to sell.
But we were on the phone with Melissa and Elizabeth like almost 24 hours a day. Remember, we were texting and calling, and we were doing Facebook. We were getting input from all the other owners all the time. So, I mean, it was scary to be on our own, but we were never really on our own.
I love
And
that.
that was,
Can I jump in
start,
real quick? Because,
yes.
It was 2020 and they were our first franchise owners that joined after, all of the shutdown. So our business plan completely had to change because we did things differently. And Joey and Sandy were kind of blazing the trail for everybody else, really, because everything was different and they were our first after the pandemic.
I love that. And I'm going to ask you, I want to just go to Lynn and Renardo first to understand what were the biggest challenges for you as you took over the business to get up and running. And then I want to go to you, to Melissa, to just understand, what does that initial training look like? What are you doing to get your franchisees ready to open their doors?
The biggest challenge for us was I was not a salesperson. Renato was not a salesperson, and to get the no's was so disheartening. I was like, what are we going to do with all these no's? But in hindsight, I had to get now.
Best thing that ever happened to us.
I look for no's because I always know if I'm going to get a no here, they're going to know my name because I always start with, hi, my name is Lynn with Spoiled Rotten Photography. That's the first thing everybody hears from me, whether it's in person, on an email, on a phone call. That's the first thing I say. So they're going to, if I get a no, they still know my name. And I am one step closer to my yes. But I had to get over the no's. I say it all the time. I was a little late to the party, but when I arrived in style. We, you know, when I understood it took the no's to get to the yes, that's when the light bulb went off. Like, okay, it doesn't matter how many no's we get. I'm going to hit X amount of schools in a day, and we're going to get out of that X amount. We may not get any yeses, but we might get one. And if I get one in that X amount of schools that we visited, we're happy. We're extremely happy for it.
And for me, it was my background again was in photography. However, it was in real estate photography, so that was kind of like my bread and butter prior to Spoiled Rotten Photography. And the reason why I kind of honed in on real estate photography was because unlike children or people or things like that, houses don't move. They're always there, whether I make the appointment or not. So that was kind of like the lane I chose. And it was kind of our saving grace during the pandemic, because during that time I was still able to work because realtors still needed pictures of the houses. And a lot of the houses I photographed were vacant. So it didn't require any person-to-person contact or anything like that. And again, it was our saving grace because it allowed me to keep working during a crazy time.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so Melissa, what does that look like when a franchisee signs on with you? How are you preparing them for their business?
Right. So the first thing we do is we have about a month of pre-training where they're going to learn their camera. They learn all the fundamentals of photography. They learn a lot of how we do business, our operations. We get them set up with their countdown to opening. So they're doing all the things to open their business, plus doing training to get them ready for the in-person training, which is a lot of hands-on and a lot of kids. So we try to, we partner with some underserved schools in the area. So we are going into preschools 4 different times when they're here for training. So we are trying to train as we fight. It's my old Army verbiage coming out. So we try to get them as much experience actually photographing kids when they're here. A lot of the other stuff we can do over Zoom and through online training. But when they're here, we try to photograph as much as we can.
I love that. So do you all have brick and mortar locations? Are you doing this at a studio? Are you going to locations to shoot? What does it look like where you're doing your work with the kids?
Right. So we are a school photography brand. So most of it is going to be at a preschool or a elementary school. We do some that are K through 12 schools as well, but our bread and butter is started in the preschools, but we're finding that there's so much opportunity in the K schools. We have really started moving in that area as well.
Yes, I love that. Okay, so the next question I have is, we have 2 sets of couples here. I own a business with my husband. I am not in the day-to-day. I don't know how the heck we would work together. So I want to understand, what does your day-to-day look like? How are you guys splitting what you're doing, or just an average week? Do you have employees? What does your week look like? How are you finding business, and how do you split duties? So we can start with Lynn and Bernardo if you'd like.
Well, I always say that she is Batman, I am Robin. So I pretty much follow her lead. So wherever she says go, that's what I do. I mean, to make it simple and plain.
We for me, it's funny because the thing that I actually hated the most, I actually love the most now, which is scouting for schools. I love finding new schools. But we try to off season. That's what we're doing, is we're looking for new schools during the off season. That's when we're scouting maybe 10 schools a day, every other day at the bare minimum. During season, it's a split. We're loading the car together, getting it ready for the stretch to school the next day. We are editing together. We are. I have children that I have employed, so we have. We're giving them flyers to sticker, and we've really made this a family affair. In between time, my children, I have 2 in high school, 2 in college. So in the midst of all of that, and some have after school activity, weekend jobs. In the midst of all of that, we like to say, if we have a big school, it's all hands on deck. I have children who have been to photo sessions with us. I have one that works with us full time. But it's really a family affair for us. We love it. I say it all the time. I talk about Spoiled Rotten to everybody. In my mind, everybody should be doing this. Everyone should be doing this. So, but a typical day for us is we wake up together, we're photographing together, we're editing together, finding schools together. It's great. I couldn't pick a better person to work with than this person right here.
I love that.
I could never have picked a better person. And then to add my children into it, it's just icing on the cake.
Yeah, I love that. Joey and Sandy, how do you work together? What does your day-to-day look like?
Our business is kind of split to where on the sales side, I do most of the sale and PR side, and then Sandy does most of the financial side, payroll side. We do have employees. I think we have now 12.
12 employees.
We now have 12 people who work for us part-time. And so Sandy does a lot
Our
of that.
son works.
Our son
Our
does
son works
processing
for
for
us,
us.
and our daughter is a photographer.
So we're bringing in some of our kids too. But most of like I said, most of the sales stuff is on my side. I know our sales numbers. I know Linda Renardo's sales numbers too. But that's just me. That's my drive. But Sandy does, when it comes to payroll and that kind of stuff, that's really Sandy's more of her expertise.
Mhm.
And then if we need the cameras, we both can pick up a camera and make beautiful portraits. So
Love
we
it.
both, it's a lot of fun. We get to go shoot
I
together.
take pictures too, but not as much as Joey does, because I up until just this last week, I had another job.
Oh, okay, great. So
So,
Melissa,
and when she says another job, she means she was working 40 hours a week plus doing this.
plus this,
So
yeah.
she was really superstar.
So
Yeah.
as of
Well,
the
but
11th,
I
so
think
I'm
that's nice too, where you
full-time
can have
SRP.
somebody still working and work your way into it and work up to building the business. That's nice. It's not as scary.
Well, Joey and I have a 5-year plan that's to expand our territory and franchises. So in order for us to accomplish all that, we felt like we needed to get a lot of things paid down and get our finances in a better position so that we could expand the territories and buy more franchises.
Yeah, that's great. So before we hit record, you guys were talking and cheering each other on for some big milestones. And we heard in the data that there's really this great culture within the organization. Melissa, what are you doing to facilitate those relationships between your franchisees? Are you bringing people together, or how do you kind of support that power of a franchisee community in helping to build the brand?
Thanks. That's a great question. I think the very first thing we do is we bring on the right people. Like, we make sure that they have the core values that we share. And that's number one. We do a lot of things. We have a monthly meeting where we ask everybody to be present, and we ask everybody to have their cameras on. We also have an amazing annual conference where we come together. We call it kind of like a family reunion. And I think that everybody loves coming to the annual conference because it is a great time just to be able to network and get tips and tricks from people who are doing the same thing as you across the country. So we love our annual conference, but we kind of have a subculture too. Everybody seems just to want to cheer each other on. Joey and Sandy made their own little cheerleading sales club. I don't know what else to call it, but people that are trying to get accounts, they cheer them on. We also have a weekly meeting for people who are trying to get accounts. And Lynn comes because I think that she just comes to cheer everybody else on. I'm not sure, she doesn't need help from anybody, but she always comes to try to help. So other than picking the right people and trying to just create a culture where everybody wants to help each other, I think that's the bottom line of it. Just really, really simple to do when you have the right people.
Yeah, I love
If I
that.
can jump in real quick and talk about that conference, that is such a bonding experience for everybody. And it's, we do the team building stuff and we have meetings, but after 5 o'clock, you can sit down with people who are successful in your field and talk to them for 2 or 3 hours, which is absolutely priceless.
Yeah.
That was a big help for us when we were just getting started. We're talking to these people who were ahead of us, and they're telling us what they did wrong and what we need to be doing. And Sandy's over there with her pen. I don't write anything down. I'm like, oh yeah, that's great. And Sandy's like, luckily, because that way we knew what to do when we got back. But that conference builds such camaraderie when you get everybody together.
Yeah, it's great when you can identify those top performing locations and have that access to someone that has kind of made some of the mistakes that you can learn from to speed up your ramp up to being successful. So that's great. Let's talk about your flexibility. What is your work-life balance like? And we can just stay with you if you want to just kind of tell me how many hours you're putting into the business or what flexibility you have to do what you want to do outside of work. Joey and Sandy, want to start?
What month is it?
Yeah. What
A
day
lot of
is
it
it?
depends on whether we're in season or not.
Okay.
And it's really not fair because I absolutely love what I do.
Yeah.
I could do this 24 hours a day. I mean, I just love it that much.
That's what we do. I mean, I love the kids that we come in contact with. I mean, I look at their pictures, once I've finished editing some pictures, I go back and look at the pictures I did last season and the season before that. And I look at how they've grown and stuff like that. And so, I mean, it's just, I love the business. And, we have the SRP family, but those kids are our SRP family also. And so I'm going to cry. So we just love it. We love what we do. So we do live it, and so I don't think that everybody does, but I know we do, but we love doing that though. So
but from a flexibility standpoint, I'll tell you this. Later this week, we have a daughter getting married in San Antonio. And so Thursday and Friday, we're not taking pictures. SRP just gets shut down for 2 days and we go and take care of that. So we've got the flexibility to do that. We didn't have to call somebody. We have to call Melissa and say, hey, Melissa, can we not take pictures for a couple of days? It's just a decision we were able to make ourselves. So we have that kind of flexibility.
Yeah. So if there's something we want to do, of course, we can do gets done.
Love it. How about Lynn Carter? What does your work-life balance look like, or what's your flexibility? And so the seasonality, is it because kids are back to school and it gets really busy in the fall? Is that
Oh yeah,
it's on fire right now? Got
Yeah.
it.
So real quick, I would say that there is no balance. It is just all one-sided. It is just work. And to kind of piggyback off of Sandy and Joey, we love what we do as well. So we don't mind the effort and the time it takes to get the business to where we would like for it to go. But we do have downtime. So we do take the time off to take a trip or to just relax and release and, let go. But when we're in season, it's full bore. And the numbers show that. Her drive shows that. And just kind of speak to the culture and the subculture. It is, it's the competitive mind, spirit of it all. How Sandy knows the numbers, not only of his franchise, but our franchise, Melissa franchise, and other franchisees within the company. And, he and Sandy and Joey call us on a regular, and we call them when they hit said milestone. So, I mean, it's a lot of work and effort, but, it shows and it pays off.
One thing that I can say yes, we're trying to get to a certain level. So we are this is our life. 24/7 we are doing because we're trying to get to a certain level.
Yeah.
However, we've been able to incorporate we started a whole nother market up in the New York, New Jersey area. So that has afforded me personally the opportunity to visit my mom 8, 9 times a year because I'm now up here more often. So that's a blessing in and of itself because prior I think we came maybe
Twice a year.
once, twice a year.
Right.
So that is she dedicated a room in the house to me. So, it doesn't get any better than that.
Wow.
But it's when we say it work all the time, it doesn't feel like it.
Right, yeah.
It honestly does not feel like it. Every now and again it does, but not, it doesn't feel like it. I love nothing better than to look at the numbers and see how we're doing and see what we need to put in place to get to the next level. When we go to conference, it was our second conference where Joey and Sandy were like, hey, get a pad and a pen and you go to everyone who is above you and you find out what they're doing. And that's literally what we did. Right. And we talked, it was a 5-hour drive back home. We spoke, we talked the whole way home because of the excitement that we had after we left that conference. That conference is the one that did it for us. But the culture is fantastic. I don't know any other franchise when you hit a milestone that you can call the owner of the franchise and say, hey, we did it. And she took our call. On top of that, she was sitting right next to my daughter. So, I mean, it just doesn't get any better than that for us. We just love it. So, yes, when we say we work 24/7, it may sound like a lot, but it really it just doesn't feel like we're working 24/7. It really doesn't.
Well, and I think it's important. Any business owner, especially when you're starting, you have to put a lot of work in, and there is a power in doing it for yourself. You're not building someone else's business, you're building your business, but it is hard work. And I always caution people who think that franchising equals it's gonna be easy money. And that's not it. It's how can you build a business with a lot more structure and help than doing it on your own. So that's great.
One of my favorite business quotes is the great thing about owning your own business is you only have to work half days and then you worry about it the other 12 hours.
The other 12 hours. That's nice. So Melissa, I'm going to start with you. I want to know, what would you say to someone that is thinking about getting into franchise? So it can be specific to Spoiled Rotten or just in general. What advice would you give them to someone that is considering taking the leap?
I think that keeping a really good pulse on what your franchisor is having you do, like if you follow the system, you are likely to have the results that the system talks about they have. If you don't follow the system, who knows what you're going to get. So if you can follow processes and procedures, and like Lynn said before, if you can learn to take no, because you got to get through the no's to get to the yes. You just have to be persistent and have that intestinal fortitude to run a business, right? So we are here to help you, and your franchisor is there to help you, but you have to do the work.
Yeah, that's great. Joey and Sandy, how about you? And you can each, if you have separate advice, but what advice or what would you say to someone? What do you wish you'd known before you bought into the franchise system? Anything that can help someone that's considering making this leap?
First thing is pray about it.
Yeah.
Pray about it first.
Yeah.
We did a lot of that, and that put us in the right mental state, knowing that this is where we're supposed to be. And I think, fall back on your training, pay attention in training. It's, for us, we had 2 weeks of training. It goes back to listening to the people who know what they're doing. And day one, we had our camera out and we're taking pictures the first day we were in Huntsville. And so we took pictures almost every day, except maybe that Sunday that we had off. We had one day off in between that 2 weeks. But outside of that, we were taking pictures every day. And so when you start to get into these events, and you're there, and just take a deep breath, fall back on your training. If it's here, you're going to have good training. I can't vouch for anyone else's training, but I can vouch for this training, and just fall back on your training.
And as questions arise, fall back on the support system. Make sure that the franchise that you enter into has a good support system. And then use it. Use the tools you have at your disposal.
Excellent. Good. So Lynn and Renardo, we're going to wrap up with you as far as anything you wish you'd known or any advice that you'd give to someone that's considering joining a franchise.
I would say jump in, don't wait, don't hesitate, find a buddy, someone that you connect with within the franchise, and latch on, like seriously, like latch on, ask the question, don't be afraid of the no's. That's number one. Do not be afraid of the no's. You're going to get them. I assure you, they're going to come in drones, but you're going to get those yes, and those yeses are magical. For us, we have happy dance. We have all kinds of things that we do. It's magical when you get that school that you've been going after for a year or 2 years. It's magical for us. We love it. So I would say, don't be afraid of the no's. Jump in solidly, like don't tiptoe in. That's not going to get it. You got to jump in, plant both feet on the ground, and know that you're here to work, but the results will come. They will absolutely come.
I love that.
Yeah, I would just add that if kind of like what Lynn said, Joey and Sandy said, and what Melissa had said, just stick to the plan. Just follow the training. It's kind of cookie cutter to where it's laid out to where, this is a tried and true system. Stick with it. And if you stick with this tried and true system, you'll have success. You get in trouble when you go off road and try to do your own thing and just kind of, well, I like this, I'm gonna add this. No, don't do that. Don't do that. Just stick to the system, and you'll have a level of success that you can be proud of, and then you can grow from there. And that's what we've learned. And just kind of like the buddy system, like I said, Sandy and Joey, we call them all the time. And since they didn't mention it, I'll mention it. In the back of in their frame, there is the Purple Crown. Now, what the Purple Crown is, yes, that right there. The Purple Crown is the most coveted award in spoiled rotten photography. Every franchise shoots for this award every year, and they are currently the holders of the Purple Crown. We have.
How did they earn that Purple Crown?
I'm sorry?
How did they earn the Purple Crown?
By being the best franchise.
The best of the best.
The best of the best,
there
right?
Yeah.
A lot of hard work and sweat and tears and everything else that goes into it. So as we're having this conversation, and we talk to them quite often, we're also eyeing that Purple Crown in the background and saying that, next year we are claiming that Purple Crown.
This year it's Lynn and Renardo. We're sure.
It will be,
for you,
it will be
Sandy
behind
and
them
Joey.
next year. In the
Next
field.
year it's gonna be right back there.
They're coming for you.
Right.
Lovely.
And again, it just speaks to the culture, friendly competition. That's all it is. They want to take us out, we want to take them out, and it's all free, and it's all friendly. No
It's all
hard
friendly
feelings
until they
involved.
catch it. It won't be friendly anymore.
Right? Yeah.
Now,
But at
this
the
year
same
it's-
time, we get to
it's
learn
Lynn
from
and
each
Renardo.
other. That's the wonderful part.
that part as well.
Yes, you can tell, you can just feel it, the energy that you guys are giving off, that you really love what you do and you love doing it together. So it's been wonderful. Melissa, I'll let you wrap up. Anything else that we missed that you want people to know about joining your franchise system?
I think it's all been said here. If you love children and you want to work hard to run a successful business and leave a legacy for your family, that you can grow to something that has a tremendous equity that you can sell when you're done, I think this is the right place.
Yeah, you guys are spreading joy. I feel it. I appreciate all of your time today. And I wish you all hitting your markers for your clubs and getting that Purple Crown.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.
Pleasure being here.